Money is emotional. No matter how much we try to pretend, it's just numbers on a spreadsheet. Welcome to the Marquis Masters Podcast. I'm Nick Franck. Today, I'm joined by Scott Fanatico, owner of the Financial Services Center, where he helps clients navigate wealth management, retirement planning, and some of the other big financial decisions of their lives. But what stood out in this conversation wasn't just investment strategy or market trends. It was Scott's perspective on people, how fear, uncertainty, goals, and even everyday habits shape the financial choices we make. From serving in the U.S. Army to building his own business in Texas, Scott's career has been rooted in leadership, discipline, and helping people think long-term in a world that constantly pushes short-term decisions. We also talk about the biggest mistakes people make with their money, how to prepare for the future, the role AI is beginning to play in financial services, and why understanding your goals matters far more than chasing numbers. Let's get into it. I'm so excited to welcome Scott Fanatico to the Marquis Masters Podcast. Scott is the owner of the Financial Services Center, where he specializes in wealth management, retirement planning, tax strategy, helping clients make more confident, long-term financial decisions. Scott, thanks so much for joining me. How are you today?
Nick, we're doing fantastic. Thank you for that nice introduction.
Well, I want to start with, you've had an interesting career. You've worked corporate, you were in the Army, now you're in wealth management. So what was it that you decided, hey, let's focus a little bit more on the wealth management side of things?
Well, I come from a working class family, and as I went through schooling, I was introduced to the idea of finance and investments, and just started to really get an interest in that. And then that led me to eventually, wanting to actually be a business owner, to be participating in the economy. And it was natural, having come from a corporate world of wealth management and finance, to suddenly be a small business owner in a community. And it was always just became a dream, and I'm blessed that I'm living it today.
You've been the owner now for a decade of your own business. What have you found as some of the biggest kind of ups and downs, the challenges that you faced as a business owner?
Well, this last decade where I've been a business owner, clearly there's just been the outside world that has impacted us, from COVID to now we're dealing with military intervention. So there's the outside things, but I'm blessed in that I've been able to have a good team of people and surround myself with them, that has allowed us to focus on our job and really take care of the client. So it's that delicate balance of what you can tangibly care and take care of versus what you can't. And you just making those key decisions, on a day-to-day business, because our clients are living day-to-day, and the markets and the world are moving on a day-to-day business.
When you're interacting with your clients, what are some of their, especially now, some of their biggest concerns from that wealth management side of things? And how do you make them feel better about it? Or how do you help them feel that they're a little bit more prepared for the future?
Well, Nick, my clients are human beings, just like we all are. And they are influenced by their world. And, the greatest challenge for most of my clients is not allowing the emotions that can naturally impact us as human beings to bleed over into the critical decisions around, if they're in retirement, not making mistakes, or if we're trying to prepare them to get ready to be able to say, do I want to work today? Avoiding the emotions is probably the greatest challenge that I've had in dealing with people, which is great, because I love being with people. But challenging, it's the outside world that impacts their emotions that we try to safeguard them against.
Yeah. When you think of someone in I'm going to take myself, for example, someone who's in their mid-30s, I have 2 kids, preparing for the future. Mm-hmm. What's some of the big things that you see as mistakes or big advice that you would give someone in their 30s of how to set themselves up that, hey, when I'm 65 or whatever age that's going to be, I can comfortably retire?
Well, as you position yourself, you're saying, oh, here I am, I've got kids and all the responsibilities of today, which again, sometimes makes it hard to think about the future. So our job is to understand what today, what tomorrow, and what the future might look like. So we truly try to do a good job of asking the right questions and doing a good job of listening, because what you desire for your children, your family, now and in the future, and what you desire and what your retirement would look like is, again, unique to you. So there's these general terms, but we need to do a good job of having helped hundreds of families go through those times, asking the right questions, and then trying to provide the right advice and guidance as the storms of life typically hit somebody.
Well, I think, especially in today where, some budgets are getting a little bit tighter, it's hard. So how do you balance that need to say, okay, I need to make sure I afford the things that I can now, while being like, I don't want to say, hey, is $5 a month good? It doesn't have to be a number or anything like that. But how do you advise that when you're weighing, hey, paying groceries or retiring 30 years down the road, which is such an abstract idea for a lot of people?
Sure. The idea of having the discipline to focus on first things first. So, the typical citizen of the United States, our economy is driven by our abilities to consume, and our consume means we're buying and spending monies necessarily. So there's some real simple principles with a young couple that we talk about is, well, first things first, you can't be spending more than you're making. So I see that time and time again where there's the need tos, but then there's the want tos, and that we're driven, whether it be society, whether it be Facebook, or the pressures of having habits or behaviors that really are going to get in the way of being able to put away in a disciplined manner those dollars that are going to either help the kids get a college education, or maybe it's trade school education that will set them up for success in life, which I'm sure you desire for your kids. And then also having that discipline of putting those dollars away, for you, so that retirement can look like what you kind of envision it to be. And our job is to help you envision what that is. Because the reality is, for some clients, retirement is a very simple life, but they want world travel. Others, it's a high standard of living with moderate travel. With both of those are different views of what life looks like, and are going to have different expenses and costs to them. So we want to helping them paint as clear a picture of what life would look like, so that we can then help them envision what's the cost of that. And then that will simply drive what savings rate and investments rate need to be in order to achieve those goals. Because it's all about achieving goals. It's not about the money in the bank necessarily. It's about the experience that you want for your children, for your family, and what you want retirement to look like for you. The numbers are important, but that's just that. It's the more important is to help the clients achieve their goals. And goals have to be as clear as possible, because then we can be as exact as possible when it comes to helping them with their savings rates and disciplines of that.
Yeah. Scott, when I was doing a bit more background, I saw you did some work in television. So I used to work for a long time. I worked in local news, and surprised that maybe you and I didn't cross paths at some point, because you did some work in TV. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, yeah. Concho Valley is central Texas, and what I was fortunate enough to do is answer key questions. So the lunchtime news hour would be an opportunity where I could sit down with the local news station and have them ask questions that are on our community's members' minds. And our challenge sometimes in our industry is we like to use a lot of fancy words. My job, though, I thought, was in those minutes of time where I was trying to, on a weekly basis, over lunch, express and bring to life the basic fundamentals when it comes for people to be successful. So I enjoyed it very much. It was an opportunity. My clients enjoyed it because they could hear and see me on a regular basis, and it was an opportunity to reach out not just to my clients, but to all those in the Concho Valley area here in Central Texas.
Yeah. Before we kind of move on a little bit deeper into you, what would you say is one thing that someone could do today, like an actionable thing someone could do today to better, I don't want to say better their finances, but maybe set themselves up for maybe having a little bit better stability?
Okay. So I got to put it into two things. It has to do with spending. Is first and foremost, truly have an understanding of how much you are spending on a monthly basis. And it's something that so many clients, when they come to us and they're ready to retire in 2 to 3 years, they really struggle with understanding how much the cost of living is for them. But in that discovery and understanding that one thing of my expenses, you will identify probably a handful or two of items, expenses that you're saying, you know what, I'm surprised that that's happening, and you can make a modification to your immediate behavior. So understanding your expenses will immediately lead to changes in behavior as long as you're motivated to really achieve the goals that you want to achieve.
Yeah. Have you ever wondered how some people's stories live on, not just through their work, but through history itself? For nearly 130 years, Marquis Who's Who has been documenting the lives of leaders, innovators, and changemakers across every profession. From CEOs and scientists to artists and educators, Marquis has captured the stories behind success, the people who define our times. Being listed in Marquis Who's Who isn't just recognition, it's taking control of your personal brand and using it to create a meaningful and impactful legacy. It's a record of your life's work, preserved, published, and accessible to generations who will study, research, and be inspired by your contribution. If you've built something meaningful and you've made an impact in your field or community, this is how you ensure your story is told and your personal brand is maintained accurately with integrity. Visit MarquisWho'sWho.com to learn more about how you or someone you admire can be featured, because history remembers those who take the time to record it.
I found even too, every once in a while when we go through our monthly budget, it's like, wait, we still have this subscription, or we still have this, and it doesn't seem like a lot if it's $8 or something like that. But if you have 4 of them, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you've got $50 a month that's going out for something you either don't use or don't even know about, like that stuff starts to add up over time.
You're so spot on, Nick. That's exactly what I'm speaking about. That's exactly right. So that's good to hear that you have that discipline. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, try to the best that we can. Okay, diving a little bit deeper into you. Talk a little bit about your family. What does that play in your success and your just how you go about your business?
So I'm second generation to the United States. So as I said, I come from a blue collar background. My family today, my immediate family, of course, I'm married. Actually, tomorrow is our anniversary, 39 years. So that's great. And she'll be happy that I remembered that. We've had 4 children. All of them are on the other side than you with your 2. You know, we're on the other side. I'm blessed that they're all married, and we have grandkids now as well. So I continue to go through those same life stages, just as our clients do. And so it's good again to know myself well enough so that I can understand our clients and the things and questions that are going on, you know, through their life. But so family is critical to me. Again, I'm a big sports guy, so. You know, every year the NFL has this great trophy that they run towards called the Super Bowl, and it's the Vince Lombardi Trophy. And, you know, Vince Lombardi was so fantastic. Why? Because he said there's only 3 factors. There's your faith, there's your family, and there's football. So, you know, I've kind of taken that as, there's faith, there's family, and then there's your finances. So I've kind of carried that forward and tried to apply the same principles for myself. I never recommend something for a client that I haven't done myself. So that's a bit about my family.
Are you one of the unfortunate Cowboy fans over the last, since the 90s that they've actually won anything?
So I am not an unfortunate Cowboy fan. So that's a classic company, should say team that you either love them or you hate them. So I'll go neutral on that, being here in Central Texas.
When you think about the next handful of years for you, for your business, what do you see as your goals?
Well, we have to continually improve how we care for clients. A business is about the people, and I'm blessed with great people. The technology is impacting every business, from the chicken farmer to Microsoft trying to figure out what they need. So we constantly have to be on top of technology. Everybody and their brother hears now about artificial intelligence. How do we prudently bring that into a very sensitive business around someone's finances? And then at the end of the day, we have to continually evolve our process as our clients' needs necessarily change. So we stay focused on those particular things.
How do you see, because you kind of touched on it, I'm curious how AI is currently impacting you or how you maybe see it impacting maybe your clients or your industry over the next few years?
Well, our client base is a mix. We have small business owners, and then we have what we refer to as kind of high net worth individuals, and then we have others that are just in the workforce itself. So as to artificial intelligence within my business, I am simply a small business owner, so I've had to be very prudent as far as how I allocate my dollars. But to answer the question directly, we have incorporated a piece of the artificial intelligence, and what it helps us do, Nick, is it helps us in our internal communications. So how do we best communicate what the client's needs are, what the client's wants are? How do we then affirm that with the communication going out to them? And it keeps us on track because life is busy, our client's life is busy, so we leverage it from a communications perspective because that's what's so key in life. If I'm not listening well, if I'm not hearing them properly, and the only way that I can verify that is with a communication back out to them that they then verify, yes, Scott, that's the plan, or no, you heard that a little bit differently, or I was thinking differently. So we use it from a communications perspective today.
Yeah, you mentioned life being busy. When you're not working, helping clients, what are you doing outside of that? How do you spend your free time?
Well, I'm doing what my boss wants me to do, and that's heading over to the Dallas-Fort Worth area because we've got 3 great grandkids down there, just grandkids, not great grandkids. But we spend time with family. It really is a continuation. As a young father, I wanted time with my daughters and son, and we continue to take advantage of that. So we're very active in supporting our family, and we're very active in our church as well. So. That family and faith piece are important things, and that's where I spend my time when I'm not taking care of the finances of my clients.
You mentioned your church and what you give back. How important is that for you to give back to your community?
Well, I'm fortunate that we're in a successful business, and it's a delicate balance between you have gifts that you can give, you have time that you can give, and then there's monetary support. So while we try to find time to give to church and talents, whether it's working on a board or a committee at the church, we financially is kind of where I lean more to in trying to help them, with their evangelical missions or what the needs of the community necessarily are. So I guess that's the best way of answering that question.
Sure. A little more of a lighthearted question here. If you could have lunch with somebody, you're making one of your trips to Dallas and you could have lunch with one person, whether they're alive, whether they're no longer with us, who would it be?
That list is long. So I'll go with somebody who is alive today. And considering I was going over to Dallas, I would say it would be interesting to sit down with a Mark Cuban, who, because he went from, eating mustard sandwiches, trying to figure out what a small business would be to a very successful, business owner and entrepreneur. So I think that's who I would choose to have that lunch with.
It'd be fun to pick his brain. I bet he's got a lot of ideas and has a vibe that I think would be fun to do. Scott, when you think back to your 17, 18-year-old self and you were going into the workforce and you're thinking about what you were going to be and now you're where you are now, do you think the young 17, 18-year-old self would say, okay, I'm going to do the same things, I'm going to make the same choices? Like, do you think there's anything in the path where you're like, maybe I could have gone this way or gone this way?
So as a 17, I would say, I don't know if I was a mature 17, 18-year-old, but what I would say is, going back to sports, I think I was living some principles. So maybe I didn't have the complete thought necessarily of what life was going to look like. But, the discipline of sport, it's teamwork, it's the discipline of putting in the extra effort to achieve the particular goal. So I don't know if I had a clear vision of what I would want to have done. But what I did is, because I loved sport, I was living a day-to-day, developing and reinforcing the principles that I think have helped me to be where I am today necessarily. So maybe not the answer was spot to you, but I think that's what I would think about.
Yeah. No, I love that. And when you think about it from that perspective, what is the lesson that you think you took away from that now as you progress through life? Like when you think back, what is that lesson that you think you've really taken?
Well, I've been blessed in more of a leadership type of a position, which really meant whether it was a leader in the military, helping young soldiers or young non-commissioned officers, develop themselves to have a better career, care for their families. Whether it's leadership here at the business and helping my teammates here have a clear career path, their professional goals necessarily, whether it's being a part of the church and just trying to help those that have other gifts in a guiding role. Probably leadership skills would be something that sport taught me in order to win the game at the end of the day.
Yeah. And Scott, before I let you go for the day, what does being a Marquis Who's Who listee mean to you?
It's wonderful. To be a part of a collective group that is recognized. I'm just happy that I was able to qualify for such an honor and a distinction to be a part of this group. And again, I can't be thankful enough. But I'm appreciative of the standard that they have, and having been able to qualify for that is a dream come true.
Awesome. Well, Scott, it was great to chat with you today, and I appreciate you sharing your story with me.
Well, Nick, thank you very much. Appreciate our time here. I wish you the best with your goals, your profession, and with your family.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. Now, hey, if this conversation resonated with you, consider sharing it with someone else thinking about their financial future, planning for retirement, working to build that long-term stability for themselves and their families. If you'd like to hear more conversations with professionals and leaders like Scott, be sure to visit MarquisWho'sWho.com. Subscribe to the Marquis Masters Podcast wherever you're listening. Once again, thank you so much to Scott Fanatico for joining me. I'm Nick Franck, and we'll catch you for the next Marquis Masters Podcast.